F-Zero and Star Fox were two of my favourite video game franchises of all time growing up. With them both being space-themed, futuristic series, it seems only natural that they'd cross over at some point. There have been hints of that in the past, with their universes being implied to be interlinked, but Nintendo has never actually made a game that takes elements from both series. It's a shame, because a game like that would be right up my alley, so that begs the question. What would happen if you were to blend F-Zero and Star Fox together? Well, if you did that with the cartridges and discs, you'd probably end up with an inedible mess of plastic and metal, but if you instead took the high-speed racing of F-Zero and combined it with the aerial combat of Star Fox, you'd get Star RACER. This game just released on Steam and is currently in early access, and so far, I can say with confidence that I am having an absolute blast with it. The basic gameplay is very much reminiscent of the classic F-Zero experience, tearing up the track at crazy speeds, destroying the opposition, and walking that fine line between using your boost power and making sure your energy meter doesn't get too low. There's a large focus on combat, track memorization, muscle memory, and reflexes, exactly what you'd expect from a game like this. There are hazards to avoid, strategically placed jumps to allow you to take shortcuts, and it all just makes for a very satisfying, skill-based gameplay experience. I will say, the speed wasn't quite doing it for me at first, but when I cranked it up to the higher settings in the options menu, that's when this game started to feel good. That is when it started to feel like F-Zero. There was even a speed setting called Don't Even, which naturally I had to give a try, and yeah, suffice it to say, it lived up to expectations. The F-Zero DNA is clear to see here, but where the Star Fox side comes into play is during the aerial sections of the tracks. At certain points, you'll come across flight pads which seamlessly transform your machine from a car into a spaceship. This allows you to fly around freely and fire lasers at other racers. Initially, I thought the flying would be kind of just a gimmick, an afterthought, something tacked on as a selling point, but man oh man, I could not have been more wrong about that. When I first played this game, I was sort of treating the flight sections like extended jumps and landing pretty soon after taking off. But after a bit more experimentation, I saw the light and figured out how much potential the flying really has. You can use your airtime to do some insane stuff, like skip entire parts of a track and just fly over them without a care in the world. If there's a turn that you always seem to struggle with, then what's the solution? Just fly over it. If there are a bunch of hazards on the roads like landmines, ice or dirt, then what do? Just fly over it. The possibilities are never ending, and you might think that something like this would completely break the game. I thought that too at first, but there are some restrictions to stop you from going too crazy, to keep you grounded both figuratively and literally. For one, there are checkpoints around the track that you have to stick to, or else the game will slap you on the wrist by sending you back. I may or may not be speaking from personal experience here. Then there's the fact that being in the air also consumes energy. The same energy that you use to boost, and the same energy that causes you to explode when you run out of it. This means that you have to really make the most of the time that you have in the air, and make sure that you don't push your luck or you run the risk of getting totaled. The flying sections also serve as a fantastic way to flesh out the combat of this game. Like with the classic F-Zeros, you're able to attack other racers by using side and spin attacks, and taking them out refills your energy meter. But when you're in the air, you can shoot them with lasers and charge them up to home in, just like in Star Fox. This is a bit of a double-edged sword though, as during these parts of the track, you're also vulnerable to being shot down. However, also much like in Star Fox, you can actually barrel roll to deflect enemy lasers, which really adds to the fast-paced, reaction-based style of gameplay. One of the most satisfying things is picking off racers on the ground while you're cruising above them in the air. Few things have given me a greater sense of power than that. To be able to fire lasers and use your spin attacks and barrel rolls to their full potential though, you'll need to collect capsules which are scattered throughout the track. These are like your ammunition and stop you from attacking without purpose. If you take a shot in this game, you need to make it count, or else you'll be left defenseless after you burn through all your capsules. Nothing demonstrates how awesome the combat is better than the Death Race mode. For the uninitiated, this was something that was introduced in F-Zero X and involved you trying to take out all 29 of your opponents to be the last racer standing. It's featured here in Star Racer 2, and the addition of the aerial combat just makes it even more fun than it was before. I also managed to make it onto the leaderboard with my time, although I have my doubts that I'll have that distinction for very long. Speaking of F-Zero X though, the vibes of that game have very much carried through to Star Racer, and that makes me a happy man. Much like the aforementioned N64 title, this game goes for a comic book-like aesthetic, with words that pop out when you bump into other racers, and that kind of circular dot pattern being present on the tracks. You know the one I mean, right? The characters also have unique profile artwork in that style, which do naturally remind me a lot of the ones in F-Zero X. With the game being in early access, not all of them have these profiles, but the designs that are there so far are really strong. At the moment, there are 20 characters in the game, all with different vehicles that have different stats. A pretty impressive number for a game that's still in a relatively early stage of development. I quite enjoyed giving each racer a spin, and as an aside, my favourite so far is the one called the Sound Blaster Mark II, but I still have quite a few to unlock, so that's still subject to change. Alongside the art style, another thing that adds to the charm of this game is the music. Even though I've only been playing it for a few days at this point, some of the tunes have already managed to get stuck in my head. Starlight Spiral especially is one I've caught myself whistling on quite a few occasions. As a matter of fact, Grant Kirkhope actually composed some of these tracks, as if this game couldn't get any cooler. Not only does it bring together the worlds of F-Zero and Star Fox, but now even Banjo-Kazooie as well. Another neat little feature of this game is the custom course creator. This is surprisingly feature-rich and allows you to let your imagination run wild and genuinely create anything within the confines of what the game allows. You can change the width of the track, the elevation levels, the banking, the hazards, the flight sections, the health strips, and so much more. Personally, I'm not creative enough to get the most out of something like this and ended up making a couple of absolute abominations, but for someone with more brain cells than me, the potential is there. So far, I've put about 5 hours into Star Racer and I have absolutely loved those 5 hours. It's one of those games where the more I play it, the more I enjoy it. At first I wasn't sure, but it was really cranking the speed up and figuring out the aerial sections that made it click for me. As I've mentioned, it is in early access at the moment, but I see so much potential in Star Racer. When the game launches fully, it'll have more tracks, more unlockables, voice acting, the ability to share custom courses you've made, and all of that has me very excited. There's even a Discord server where any bugs about the game can be reported or any feedback can be given, which shows that the developers are going the extra mile, no pun intended, to take this game to the next level. So if you're a fan of F-Zero, a fan of Star Fox, or you're like me and are a fan of both, I would highly recommend giving this game a try or putting it on your Steam wishlist in preparation for the full launch. Whatnot Games have done a tremendous job so far, and I see a bright future for Star Racer. The sky's the limit. Hey, thanks for watching. I want to give a special thank you to Mike Towndrow from Vicarious PR for sending me a review key for this game. As someone who grew up playing F-Zero and Star Fox, I was super appreciative to have been given the opportunity to play this game that serves as a love letter to both franchises, and I can't wait to see where it goes in future.